Hi everyone, this is our channel, Meet the Real Story. Please like, share and subscribe.
We lived with a monster who knew no mercy. He would hit and insult us all the time. I wished him dead on a daily basis. He would kick me out of the house often. But as we all know, there comes a turning point in everyone's life that either ends in success or tragedy. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Lara. I am the middle sister among four siblings. We lived with a cruel father, whose bad behavior had long erased any kind memories we may have once had for him. Our mother was kind, lovely, and responsible. She used to take care of us in every way, but she finally had to abandon us because she just couldn't take any more of father's abuse. I remember the scene vividly to this very day. There was a big fight between my parents. At the end of it, mother had opened the door while holding a suitcase. We were too young to understand anything at the time. She was crying as she turned and walked out of our lives forever. We were expecting father's attitude to change after that, but it didn't. He continued mistreating and ridiculing us every opportunity he got, neglecting us completely. He gave us neither food nor clothes, only a very small amount of money to fend for ourselves. What could we do? We had to live with the situation. He would often return home drunk at midnight. Scared, we'd stay quiet in our rooms. The only bright spot in our lives was our dear brother Philip. He was father's favorite son, which caused us to depend on Philip to get anything we need, like money or other necessities. Philip was so funny. He could make us and even father laugh. He had a way with father and could usually manipulate him to protect us a little. We all loved Philip. He was the only sunshine in our miserable, gloomy existence. One day, we woke up in the middle of a stormy weather. We turned on the TV and listened to the news. It said the bad weather had spawned a huge tornado. It was heading our way. They advised people to stay inside. We all looked at each other, knowing full well that our old worn-out roof could not withstand the tornado. Philip said he needed to talk to father. After he knocked and entered father's room, we heard father shouting at Philip. Philip had a look of fear on his face. Father then shouted, "If anyone wants to fix anything at home, then he is welcome to, but I will not fix anything." Philip gasped and said, "But Dad, it's a big tornado." Father then grabbed Philip by the collar and pulled him up close, saying, "Then you go fix it." Philip was so afraid he couldn't swallow. Father dragged Philip to the backyard. He brought nails, wood, a hammer, and a long ladder. Philip was terrified when father pushed these things at him and told him to get to work. Philip begged, "Please, Dad," but father just shouted, "Go." Philip took the nails, the hammer, and the wood and began to climb the ladder up to the roof. The wind was howling, blowing very hard, and I had a feeling of dread that something terrible was about to happen. Father just stood there, not worried about Philip's safety at all. To calm us down, Philip looked at us, as if to say, "Don't worry, everyone. I'll be okay." There were many wires on the roof. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind caused Philip to lose his balance, and he reached out to grab onto something to keep from falling. Unfortunately, he got hold of an uninsulated wire. He screamed at once and fell off the roof. We watched, horrified, and began screaming. Father frantically rushed over to Philip's body lying on the ground. He lifted Philip's head into his arms and rocked him gently, but Philip was dead. He got electrocuted. We had never seen father cry, but he cried a lot that day. At Philip's funeral, we all stood and looked at the photo, showing Philip smiling like an angel. Father hugged us as a group and said, "Please forgive me, kids. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I loved you all so much. I'm so sorry for not being a good father." We believed him. We hugged him back. He was being sincere with us for once. From that point on, he was a changed man. He gave us everything. Love, attention, money. Now we love our home and our lives. I can finally say truthfully, with all my heart, I love you, Daddy.
Hey, my name is Anne. It was the summer break before college, and as a graduation kind of celebration and before each and everyone went to a different college, my best friends and I decided to go on a fancy summer vacation to one of the most beautiful places on earth. At least that's what I think, to Hawaii. I was in my room daydreaming about wearing those cool coconut bras while enjoying an exotic juice, maybe even doing a hula dance, and then my best friend Kim called and burst my coconut bubble. She suggested that since we're off to a whole new stage of our lives, we may as well get a complete makeover. I thought she meant we should go shopping or something, but no, she said we should go to the hair salon and get new haircuts and maybe even dye our hair. I admit that I was overly excited about the whole thing, so I said yes. My normal hairdresser was on annual leave. She has always cut my hair exactly how I describe it. I love her. However, she has been gone for a while, and we couldn't wait any longer for a haircut, so I made an appointment with another hairdresser at the same salon. On a side note, Kim is blonde, while I'm a brunette. I know this info might not sound useful, but it will come in handy throughout the story. Kim and I drove to the hair salon. The place looked extra fancy, the kind of place you would trust. We went inside all giggly like we were 12. We were actually 18 at the time. Anyways, we were greeted by a really nice lady. That lady said that Kim should get highlights and I should go for the same, plus going blonde. I was skeptic, but who cares? It's summertime. The lady put bleach all over my head and went to do Kim's hair. So, after 15 minutes, my scalp started burning like crazy. So I called the nice lady and she said it was time to wash the bleach. As she was washing my head, her smiley face went poker. Chunks of my now orange hair were all over the sink. Kim looked at me and her eyes got as big as my head. The lady asked me not to freak out and that she could cover the bald spots with a really short haircut. The lady asked me not to freak out and that she could cover the bald spots, and so she started cutting my hair. So far, so good. Then she snips a huge section out of the front of my hair, saying that she was framing my face. At this point, it was too late to say anything. The haircut was just hideous. Not me at all, and especially not what I asked for. So I told her that I hated it. She felt really bad and I started to tear up because it was seriously so ugly. And now that I was stuck with a really bad haircut, I tried to calm myself that maybe the color will turn out okay. And then she put the dye on my hair and it turned my hair green. The only solution now was to become a redhead, and that was just a no for me. I don't have the complexion of a redhead. Our boyfriends were actually going to pick us up from the salon, and just imagining the look on Nick's face made me cry and laugh at the same time. Rachel played it really cool, and even her highlights did not go so well, but that incident was just one of a kind. I ended up with the weirdest hair color ever. It was like I was half mermaid, half dragon. This did not stop us from enjoying our summer break though. It was actually a good source of jokes for a long time. Emily and I became best friends during junior year of high school. We bonded over a similar love of acting. We were both in the theater program, hung out in the same groups, and had classes together. It just seemed so easy to be best friends. Things got complicated when it was time to move on to college. We didn't go to the same university, but we were still pretty close as friends. We texted a lot about what was happening in our lives, and when I needed advice, she was the first person I talked to. I had a tough time transitioning from high school, where everything seemed to come so easily to me. College was a completely different place for me, and she was the only one I talked to about it. Freshman year, I saw her every other month. She was so close that we could still try and find time to hang out together. I didn't have many friends, so it was easier to give her my free time. I didn't mind. She was my best friend. Sophomore year was the same. Only I had my life in order this time. I wasn't struggling in my classes, but my social life was still the same. I had few friends that I actually hung out with. And I was okay with that because I had her. We talked and texted about everything, and I vented all my worries and frustrations to her. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have survived those first 2 years. I don't really remember what happened last summer before junior year, but I guess that's when I decided I needed to come out of my shell and enjoy my college years. My junior year began and I met new people who I came to really enjoy being around. They lived in the dorms in the same hall as me, so it was so easy to just hang out with them even if it was until 2 a.m. And we had classes early the next day. I gave them more of my time and I didn't even realize that I had put my relationship on hold with my best friend. I didn't find out until I tried talking to her and she wouldn't respond. I found out later from my sister, who was also good friends with her, that they had talked about how I was ignoring her. She would text and I wouldn't respond. She would try to talk to me and I was too busy. I didn't really remember doing any of that. I had the thought that I was pretty consistent and always responding. I had grown attached to my new friends. They had become basically a part of my everyday life, and I had unconsciously replaced her. The last 2 months of our friendship, I had tried to talk to her and fix things, but it was useless. It was the end of the semester, so we were both stressing over finals and family stuff, so we wouldn't really talk. We finally talked during winter break. I had no excuse for what I had done, and when she called, I told her I never wanted to lose her. Our friendship ended that day. I sat in my room and cried for a while thinking about the great person I had just lost. I felt guilty for what I had done. I had moved on without telling her, and that's where I messed up. Later that night, I came to a decision that from now on, I wouldn't take friendships so lightly, even if they were long distance. She was a very important part of my life, and I regret letting her go. I hope one day I have the courage to let her know how important she was to me. She did so much for me, even if it was a simple text to see how I was. I still hold hope that one day we can be friends again. That's not the whole story though. Emily lent her ears to a group of girls, and instead of trying to get me back to my senses, she let someone steal her from me. I was so ready to try to make things up until I heard her side of the story. I just want to give her a giant thank you. And yes, I was bitter. So very bitter when I found out the real reasons as to why my best friend wasn't talking to me as much. I was mad at her and I blamed her for everything. I blamed her for the lost times that I had with her. For the memories, I regretted everything, from the money to the borrowing of clothes to the simple things like helping around the house because it was all nothing but wasted time. I blame you, Emily. I want her back. I want my best friend back in my life and doing things with me such as makeovers, going on trips, double dates, shopping together, things that normal best friends do. But I couldn't because Emily chose to be with other friends. I don't need her, and I have to thank her for that. She must not have been a true friend if, in her eyes, she could up and leave with no real reasoning behind it, or an explanation. How can someone just forget that someone in their life once existed? It's cruel to do that to a human being. Human beings are made to feel wanted, which that is not it. And as for the girl who stole my best friend, please make sure you're there for her when she and her boyfriend go through a tough time together. Make sure you're there to talk to her when she's having doubts about college, or even if her family is nagging at her. Make sure you're there for her makeover sessions, shopping sprees, or just movie nights. Hold her when she cries over Beauty and the Beast. Just be the best person you can for her. I know that she needs it more than ever, because that is what she deserves. I really don't think I will ever be over this. She left me over a stupid reason for something you caused. And it's okay. You live and learn. Someone once said, some people may leave, but it's not the end of your story. It's the end of their part in your story. I'm always going to treasure our friendship, even though things weren't just meant to be. Your best friend is your best friend for a reason, and it should not end in the way mine did. Remember all the moments that you had, because one day you may outgrow each other or move on to other things.